BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor and take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. Episode 34 of the BTB Project. In today's BTB Short, we're going to be discussing the topic of pattern interrupt. Have you ever felt stuck in a cycle, going through your motions day after day, and yearning for a breakthrough? We'll get ready to unlock the door to your true potential today. We're diving deep into the transformative effects of pattern interrupts. In this fast-paced world, our lives are filled with predictable routines, habits, and behaviors. We find comfort in the familiar, but what if there's an untapped well of growth and innovation waiting to be discovered? That's where pattern interrupt comes into play. I'm going to talk about scenarios in my life where I've tapped into it, and it's going to allow it to tap into yours. Impossible's nothing, and let's get into it.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Coleman Gerhardt. A former athlete and motivational coach, I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
It just happened to me a couple days ago, right, where you're driving along on the highway and you're trying to get from point A to point B, and all of a sudden, as you're driving in the left lane, someone cuts right in front of you and interrupts your ability to continue to go in the lane that you're on. Think about that for a second. Think about how frustrating that is to be cut off in traffic, to not be able to continue to pursue and go the way that you'd like. And who would have thought that in today's episode, it's that type of moment that we need where we're able in our own lives to disrupt a pattern that we're going down, to put ourselves back on track for the goals that we have in our lives. It is often that we're driving down a highway of complacency, of mediocrity, of lacking self-worth, of laziness, of unworthiness, and we need to be able to cut ourselves off in that moment to get ourselves back on track. Now, in my own life, it has taken a long time for me to understand this concept. I kind of felt like the first 14 years of my life, I was on autopilot of not necessarily recognizing that I needed to make a change, that I was just living life as any kid would do. But I had a lot of distractions and dysfunction that caused me to get to a place where I just really didn't feel very good about myself up until 14. And when I started making some big changes in my life with looking to lose weight, going after my goal of playing college tennis, and really transforming my life, it was in that moment that I had to learn at a young age pattern interrupt to get me on the path of where I'm at today. So what I want you to think about is, really what is a pattern interrupt? A pattern interrupt is a technique that disrupts our habitual thought patterns, behaviors, or routines. It serves as a wake-up call, jolting us out of autopilot mode and creating an opportunity for change. It's like hitting the reset button on our habits and giving ourselves the chance to choose a different path. And I remember that day as if it were yesterday. It was a decision where things were pretty tough with my mom, and she was, really kind of getting to the mountaintop of spiraling out of control, and her addiction, watching her binge drinking, watching her pass out on the floor. I just got to a point in my life where I was tired of going down that road. I was tired of watching her do that to herself. I was tired of allowing myself to allow her to do it. And granted, I wasn't the one that was facing addiction, but I was affected by it each and every day. And being able to understand what a pattern interrupt is allows you in those moments of where typically when you are just continuing down a road, that in that moment you have the self-awareness to make a change, to pivot, to seek to understand why that moment's happening and looking for ways to prevent it or to change it as soon as possible. So what are some of the examples of how pattern interrupts can be applied in your life? So let's consider a common scenario like dealing with stress. When we're stressed, our minds tend to get stuck in a loop of negative thoughts and emotions. A pattern interrupts could involve doing something unexpected and positive to break that cycle. It could be as simple as taking a short walk, listening to uplifting music, or practicing deep breathing exercises. Let's walk through all three of those real quick with an example. So every now and then, there are situations in life where when it becomes chaotic and stressful, the last thing to do is to continue to be in that situation. Sometimes removing yourself from the situation for a few minutes to go on that short walk allows for that situation to diffuse. Okay, if you're not able to go on a walk, being able to be in a situation where you put on your headphones, you put on a song that changes your mood, uplifting music. Music is an unbelievable powerhouse when it comes to how it changes our motive, changes our drive and determination. A lot of us are fueled by music. So being able to, in that moment, recognize that you need something uplifting and you go for it through the power of music. And then lastly, practicing deep breath. This one is the most important, in my opinion. There are way too often times where, for some reason, the last thing that we do when it comes to stress is we suppress our bodies to function. We stop breathing. We hold our breath. This happened to me a lot when I was playing competitive tennis, is when I got anxious, when things were tough. I'm trying to perform athletically at a high level while holding my breath because the stress and anxiety was so high. And that's not supposed to be how high performers work. Being able to recognize in that moment that there's stress, being able to recognize in that moment that there's uncertainty or anxiousness, and just taking a few calm, relaxed, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. I've talked on previous podcasts about the importance of deep breathing. And deep breathing, I'm telling you right now, is going to be one of the best pattern interrupts that you implement in your life today. And these actions disrupt, I repeat, they disrupt the stress pattern and allows us to regain control of our emotions. So how can pattern interrupts be used for personal growth and success? Pattern interrupts are powerful tools for personal growth because they challenge the status quo. They're different than anything else that we've ever talked about. Okay. I've talked in previous episodes about sometimes you just put your head down and keep, trying to break through walls and try to overcome and work through particular scenarios. In this case, a pattern interrupt might make you pause in your place for a second while you realign, while you reevaluate, while you get yourself back into a position to continue to move forward. But I'm telling you, that brief moment of pattern interrupt changes the entire trajectory and the timeline of when you get back on that path. They help us break free from limiting beliefs, old habits, and unproductive patterns of behavior. By introducing intentional disruptions in our routines, we open ourselves up for new possibilities and fresh perspectives. Pattern interrupts can spark creativity, increase your resilience, and foster personal transformation. Pattern interrupts encourage us to step out of our comfort zone and explore uncharted territories. So ask that question to yourself right now as the listeners. What are some areas of your life right now to where you see a pattern that you know is not good for you? Maybe it's something that you're doing in the morning. Maybe it's something that you're doing in the middle of the day. Maybe it's something you're doing at night. It's one or two things that you know are not patterns that are in alignment with your goals. I want you to recognize those things. I want you to visualize them. And as you're visualizing them, I want you to think back to what we were talking about earlier. Some simple strategies of interrupting that pattern. So when that event comes up, or when that situation comes up, or when that thought comes into your head, are you going to take that short walk? Are you going to put on that positive music? Are you going to be able to take some deep breaths? Recognize the poor, unproductive, unsatisfying, unfulfilling patterns in your life, and let's align a pattern interrupt for each one of those moments. Now, let's be honest, as I'm talking through that, it sounds like, oh, well, every time something stressful comes up or something challenging comes up that you just pattern interrupt and go on, and there's really no challenges to this. And that's far from the truth. So what are some of the challenges and pitfalls of pattern interrupt? And what do we watch out for? Okay, here's the deal. While pattern interrupts can be highly effective, they require mindful execution. Mindful execution. You have to be able in that moment to have the self-discipline, to have the worthiness, to have the confidence to execute in that moment. It is important to strike the balance between creating disruptions and maintaining stability in our lives. Overusing pattern interrupts can actually lead to inconsistency and a lack of focus. It's critical to choose the right moments and techniques for the interruption, ensuring they align with your goals and your values. We should always be open to experimentation and adapt our approach as needed. One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten in my life is learning how to pivot. You think of a basketball player and they're going down the court and they get stuck in an offensive position to where they can either pass the ball or try to make a shot. And I'm always looking at the basketball player's feet because I find it fascinating. As the defender is defending them, they have the ball and maybe they've lost their dribble, so they have to either pass it or shoot, and they can't dribble it anymore. And I'm just watching their feet, watching them pivot, watching them get their body in the right position to execute, to make a play. And it's those moments of pivoting in our life, if we're able to become a master of that pivot, that's where pattern interrupt can be really powerful. That same basketball player that keeps trying to do the same pivot all the time, no matter the situation, eventually the defender is going to pick up on those tendencies and be able to steal the ball or create an opportunity to put them off balance to make a play. So being able to recognize when our pattern interrupts are effective and are actually putting us back on course is extremely important. So what are some of the actionables that you can take as the listener to incorporate pattern interrupts into your lives? We talked about a few earlier, but these two I really want to touch on as well. Introduce small, intentional changes to your daily routines. This could involve altering your morning routine, trying out a new activity, or changing your environment periodically. Try things different. Go take that Pilates class. Go take a yoga class. Go do a meditation, 5-minute meditation online. Download the app, and you have your own meditation instructor right there with you. Another technique is to seek out diverse perspectives and experiences. So you can make that initial change within yourself, but seek out others. Seek out environments where you can have more diversity in your life. Sometimes we get so set in our ways and our situations. One of the best things I've seen in my life is I like to put myself around people who can push me and drive me and encourage and grow me into where I want to be. So engage in those conversations with people that have different viewpoints. Explore new hobbies or interests. Travel to unfamiliar places. These experiences can provide valuable pattern interrupts that broaden your horizons. We can intentionally put pattern interrupts into our lives that allow us to do things that we never thought we could do. I'm asked all the time if I had the ability to give advice to my young self, knowing what I know now. I'm telling you right now, listeners, the pattern interrupt would be on the top of my list. Remember that pattern interrupts are the catalyst for growth and for personal evolution. Embracing discomfort that comes from change and use it as fuel for your progress. Stay open-minded. Be willing to experiment and trust in your ability to adapt. By incorporating pattern interrupts into your life, you'll unlock new levels of self-awareness, creativity, and fulfillment. I believe in each and every one of you as the listeners. And when you have those moments in life, when you're driving down the highway, when you're not sure exactly where you're going or how you're getting there or why you're going there, take a moment to tap into those pattern interrupts. Find your alignment. Find your moment. Find your ability to understand that you're good enough. Make it positive. Shatter stress, shatter self-doubt by breathing through it, by making it positive, and to keep going. I am proud of each and every one of you. We're going to continue to do things that we never thought we could do because as a BTB community, it is doing things together that make this so special. Listen, if this BTB short inspired you, do me a favor and shoot me a like and share the episode with a friend. Let that friend know why it impacted you. Let them know how it could help them. We continue to provide that positive message and watch the lives and transformations that occur. Let's keep going and take care.